Barrage of tweets and news about President Donald Trump banning transgendered people from the military, so I thought I would weigh in on this clearly important and very talked about issue. If you would like, follow me on Twitter at Legendary Energy, follow me on Instagram at Dream Rare, and of course stay tuned on Facebook at Anomaly. I'm going to wait about 5-10 more seconds for people to get in. And I'm going to start, and I'm going to look at all sides, and hopefully this could be one of the fairest analyses. You have a lot of people on both sides, you know, being very polarized and arguing on Twitter, arguing on Facebook, blah, 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 blah. I've seen this argument escalate. I've seen it get weirder and weirder, so I'm going to try to be as much of the voice of reason as I can. So just to start this video off, I would like to say I am very pro-LGBT. Personally, my personal opinion is I'm not God, okay? I'm not inside somebody's head. Who am I to tell them who they truly are and how they feel? I don't agree with some conservatives that try to say, hey, they have a mental illness, you have a mental illness. Why don't you worry about your own mental state? Because there's millions of straight people and just normal gay people that have mental problems. So who are you to judge? You're not inside their head. You're not going to psychoanalyze people. Just worry about your own mental health and let the transgender community worry about their own mental health. If you really care about someone that's transgender, you won't yell at them and say, you're mentally ill, you're mentally ill. You'll have a conversation with them, be kind, learn about them, and I'm sure they could teach you something as well. So that's my thought on the LGBT community. I support them and I respect their decisions to, you know, live life and be themselves, but I also see that side of the social justice debate getting absolutely ridiculous. So I see it both sides. I think conservatives and libertarians should mind their own business as far as telling somebody what their mental state is and who they truly are. But also on the social justice side, it's getting so ridiculous that we need to draw the line in the sand somewhere. You have Huffington Post 2 weeks ago writing an article saying, oh, men have penises and women have uteruses. I'm sorry, men have uteruses and women have penises, and all these comments are like, oh yeah, I'm just a cisgendered, privileged cisgendered male that has a uterus. It's like, okay, relax, buddy. I support the transgender community. I support LGBT, but at a certain point, we're not changing science and we're changing every word to fit people's feelings and emotions. A man is a man, a woman is a woman. A man has a penis, a woman has a uterus. Just because, you know, some people feel a certain way, I don't think we should just make a bunch of Huffington Post articles saying, oh, men have uteruses now, and if you don't think men have uteruses, you're a bigot. I mean, it's getting ridiculous. So Huffington Post, shut up and stop with that. You're making it harder for everybody and more confusing and weird, and just, it's annoying. I mean, I don't like the social justice pandering from the Huffington Post. Also, another thing where it's gotten out of hand is in New Zealand, there was a weightlifter, and it was a man who transitioned to a woman. That's great, do your thing, much love and respect, but this weightlifter is smashing women's records. I mean, of course, because she has a man's body. I think we need to draw the line in the sand in sports and say, hey, even if you're a trans, that's great, much love and respect. You can own a business, you can have a TV show, you can work anywhere, you can do anything, but you can't be a weightlifter competing with women. That's my personal opinion is, hey, let's draw the line in the sand. Men have penises, women have uteruses. Women should compete in weightlifting, and trans men transition to women shouldn't be weightlifting with women. I think, to me, that's common sense, but you have, you know, social activists saying, no, it's not right. I mean, anybody should be able to weightlift. We can't just, I can't say I'm a transgender next week if that's how I truly felt in my head and then go join the NBA and start crushing the competition. That's not fair. So while I see where the conservatives and libertarians, where I disagree with them, I also disagree with the social justice and at some point LGBT community if they think that, oh yeah, trans people should be weightlifting. And that brings me, before I get into what President Trump said and how I feel about it, I do want to say real quick, I'm going to bring an optimistic approach to this. If you are transgender and you're watching this, I have a lot of transgender supporters. I have a lot of gay and lesbian supporters, and I appreciate everybody. I respect you as a human. I respect you as an American. I respect you as a person. And, you know, I would rather be friends than, you know, talk about this stuff. But I want to say this is the greatest time to ever be alive as a human being and as a transgendered in America. Don't let the negative media distract you. These are the best times ever to be transgendered. You can own a business, you can own a TV show, you can be a star, you could be a celebrity, you could be a social media icon, you can pretty much go anywhere and do anything you want. Don't listen to the Washington Post, don't listen to Chuck Schumer. These are not good news sources. These are not honest and fair people. They're going to pander to the LGBT community now because it's a political move for them. So where they're like, oh, we got to let everyone in the military, they don't care about you. This is the greatest time to be alive as a transgendered. Don't let this negative media, don't let the military ban change that. So now I'm going to get into what Donald Trump said. He tweeted, I'm banning transgendered people from the military. I mean, roughly it was 3 tweets. He said, you know, finances and distractions, I believe, were along the lines of what he said. And here's my personal opinion about that specific thing. It's just not that big of a deal to me as far as the general scale of things, and it might make some people mad. I said my piece on how I support the LGBT community. I said my piece about how I think conservatives are, you know, tripping a little bit when they say, oh, you're mentally ill. No, relax. Don't call someone mentally ill. Have a conversation with them. Worry about your own mental health. But it's just not a big deal to me. If I want to join the army or the military and they say, Anomaly, you have to cut your hair or you can't join, I'm not going to go to the ACLU. I'm not going to go to Huffington Post and scream and cry and say, they're making me cut my hair. I'm going to cut my hair or I won't join because it's not a nightclub. It's not a playpen. It's not the park. It's the military. It's the United States military. I find it honestly very shocking and confusing that nobody cares that we have a rampant homeless veteran problem. I think it's ridiculous that last week we stopped the funding to moderate rebels, and there have been many reports that the United States has literally been funding terrorists through covert operations, paying for the salaries literally of terrorists. I mean, women, children are getting killed, trans people are getting killed in other countries, gay people are getting killed in other countries. To me, that's the big story, and I'm just kind of blown away that nobody cares about that. Nobody cares about the homeless veterans. Nobody cares about the fact that we're in 7 countries. Afghanistan, reports of that war ramping up. You know, we're giving weapons here. We're funding terrorists there. To me, that's the major story, and I think transgendered people in America, it's the best time to be alive ever. Is it good to be transgendered in the military? Is it productive or counterproductive? I don't know because I'm not the president. I'm not studying that. It's not going to be solved or studied just because the Washington Post and the Huffington Post and the ACLU tweets out all these stats today that they're pandering to the community. That's not the be-all, end-all. I haven't looked into it enough, and to be honest, this is not something that's new that we have to freak out about. I mean, you're entitled to your reaction to it, but 7.5 years during Barack Obama's presidency, there was a ban on transgendered people. This is not something new that Donald Trump created. It was this way for pretty much the entire time, and when they implemented it, it was a 6-month delay by, I believe, General Mattis to try to fill it out. And like I said, I support 100% the LGBT community. I support our military when we're not arming terrorists and we have, you know, faulty leaders who are literally starting wars in the Middle East. I don't support what we did, you know, the past 10, 12 plus years, and I'm glad we have a president that seems like he's dialing back on some of those faulty policies. As far as transgendered people in the army, in the military, I mean, it's just, to me, we need to look at the situation rationally and say, is it productive? Is it counterproductive? I mean, he's citing some funds, and the opposition is saying, well, we're wasting all this money. I believe we spent $1 trillion on a jet that we never use. And that's totally true. We do waste our taxpayers' money. And I do agree with that side of the debate where they say, you know, we have money for all these things. We have trillions of dollars here, trillions of dollars here. But when it comes to bring it back to the taxpayers and the people, all of a sudden we have no money and we got to cut up the budget. So I'm not buying that part of the debate, saying that it's very expensive. But at the same time, is it a distraction? Is it, you know, is it messing up the rule of order in the military? I don't know, because I would never want to join the military. It's just not for me. I think if you're transgendered, there's many ways you could help this country and help yourself. And I mean, I just don't think it's that big of a deal. I'm sorry to say it. I know social media is exploding. I also think it shows our priorities. The fact we don't care about millions of homeless people or bombs or millions of people dead, and all of a sudden just this one minute rule in the military and everybody freaks out, I think it shows a lot about us in a society. The fact that we could talk about television shows that don't exist, literally scripted dramas with fake people doing fake plots with lighting and all this video editing, literally fake shows. I'm not knocking television, but that's what they are. Things like Game of Thrones and that. Everybody talks about that like it's real life. Everybody knows every little detail. Oh my God, what happened here? What happened here? And then you walk up to the group and you're like, did you know the United States was funding terrorists for the past 20 years? And everybody's jaw drops. Like, to me, that's the big bombshell of a story. The fact that we were literally funding terrorists, not physically, not like metaphorically. We were actually paying for the salaries of people who are linked with Al-Qaeda. And that just ended last week. And I'm kind of upset because all of the news sources that say, oh my goodness, they're pandering to the transgender community, or that's how they truly feel, which is fine, they're all the ones who are lying about the true devastation and the true war. So I'm just weighing everything out. Do I personally know whether transgendered people are a hindrance or a huge help to the military? I'm not really sure. I don't study that. Military has a lot of rules I don't agree with, cutting your hair, doing all this sorts of stuff. That's why I'm not in the military. I don't join. I'm not going to try to change the whole military just to suit my personal emotions. I mean, they could say a bunch of things about why they don't want people, and they do that. I mean, the military has very strict rules. That's just the facts. If you have certain physical conditions or medical conditions, you can't join the military. I mean, people don't run to the ACLU because they have a medical condition, like, oh my goodness, like they're not letting me in, we got to change the whole rules. I mean, it's not that big of a deal. Start a business, start an online platform. There's thousands of transgendered people who are making a lot of money, who are very successful, who can go out and be themselves, and I think that's beautiful. I think you should be yourselves. I think you shouldn't hide your sexual preference. I think you shouldn't have to be afraid of who you are. I don't care, personally. I'm not God. I'm not in control of your mind. I think it's amazing. So I think it's a great time to be alive, to be a transgendered person, and I think anybody saying otherwise now is just pandering on a political agenda or being negative or nasty. So that's my personal thought about the transgender situation, because I think it's getting ridiculous on both sides. I think, a lot of people are trying to tell them that they're mentally ill without having a conversation. I think that's very ignorant. And also, I think it's very ignorant to just act like we have no rules, like there's no such thing as a man, there's no such thing as a woman. I can join the NBA, I could be a weightlifter, I could get a gold medal because I could swim faster than the women. I think we have to draw the line somewhere, and unfortunately with this military situation, it's a very confusing and polarizing topic. But to me, with everything that's going on in the world, with the women, the children, the men who die every day, with the fact that we're the most obese country, we have diabetes, we have millions upon tens of millions of people dying every couple of years over preventative illnesses because we just shove pills and terrible food in each other's faces and TV shows and unhealthy mindsets. I mean, that's the big story to me. I'm trying to actually save lives. I'm trying to actually help people. I'm not trying to just pander to people based on their social or sexual preferences, and I find that's what a lot of politicians and a lot of news sources do. Hence this whole blow up. I mean, I immediately got 1,000 people watching this stream because it's such a polarizing topic. I wish people cared about food that way. I wish transgendered, straight, and gay people woke up every morning, instead of eating high fructose corn syrup, instead of eating all these chemicals, drank water, ate a banana, ate some fruit, and really cleared your mind and your body so we could have real discussions about this stuff. So once again, I think everybody's being a little bit judgmental and testy on the subject. Everybody's hopping on it. Everybody wants to say their piece now without studying, without learning. But once again, I think the real story here is what's our military actually doing. It's not whether transgendered people can serve in the military. And to the people that are transgender that are in the military now and who have served for the military, thank you so much for your service. Thank you so much for your energy. God bless you, and I really do hope that whatever happens, they're not rude, they're not mean about it. I think that everybody deserves to be taken care of financially and mentally. So, if there are going to be no transgenders in the military, they need to take care of the ones now. They need to take care of the homeless veterans, and we need to figure out what's our military actually doing. To me, that's the major story. It might offend a few people, it might not. I think I was very fair as far as saying my whole piece. This is how I truly feel. I do support the LGBT community, but as far as joining in the military, I just think it's not that big of a story. I think it's an overrated story, and I wish more people would ask these news sources that are saying, oh, we should have transgender in the military. Ask them why they're lying about the war in Syria. Ask them why they're lying about the Middle East. Ask them why they've been a PR team for politicians and for warmongers who have literally destroyed the Middle East and left a huge power vacuum for ISIS and Al-Qaeda to run rampant and lose a lot of lives and make everybody in Europe and even in the United States more unsafe with their failed policies. When they started the war on drugs, they started more drugs. When they started the war on terror, they created more terror. So to me, once again, that's the major story. I would love to see more people talk about that. And this really, the fact that he did this just creates a whole storm of press. And I want to say to the side that is, you know, quote unquote liberal, I appreciate your energy, I appreciate your feelings, but you have to not just get so emotional over stuff like this, and be honest. If you're going to, you know, counter and say, oh, I think LGBT or transgender should be in the military, explain your piece, but stop acting like this is the worst time to be alive. Stop acting like he's not pro-LGBT, because that's not true. Just because it's a military decision, it's the military. It's not a nightclub. It's not a playpen. I mean, this is where people go to train, to go to other countries, to literally kill other people. It's a pretty crazy cycle. I mean, it's a ridiculous thing. It's not a big playpen. So when doing analysis on it, whether you're pro or anti, I would say take that into consideration, because this is not like everything in the world is not a big social and feelings explosion to the point where we don't even have genders. You know, you're being told you're a cisgender, this and that. I'm pro-LGBT, I'm pro-transgender, but I'm a man. There's a such thing as a woman. I'm not a cisgendered male. You're not a cisgendered woman. You're just a man. You're just a woman. Men have penises, women have uteruses, and men that transition to a woman shouldn't be allowed to play sports. The President of the United States has the authority, and also, I mean, it should be looked at a logical and data standpoint. It shouldn't be looked at a social standpoint, at a political correct standpoint, saying, oh, this is going to offend people, so I'm not going to do it. That's not how we need to make our decisions. We need to go with logics and fact and see what really works and see what doesn't. I'm not saying I know the answer to this specific one. I haven't researched it enough, but that's what we should be making our decisions on, not what offends people, because when you do that, that's how you create a political correct agenda, and that's how these wars start. These wars, and I'm not saying this, making this up, these wars in the Middle East and in Iraq, and the fact that millions of people died and now everything's unstable, it's because of political correctness. That's why it exists, literally. It's because if people were being blunt like Donald Trump, whether you agree with it or not, you know what's there and you can do something about it. When everybody's politically correct, okay, LGBT community can get married, cool, that's great. Transgenders can be in the military, cool, that's great, I support it. But what else is going on? Because that's the big news now. Oh, look, we got transgendered in the military. We have LGBT community, we can get married now. And then people are getting slaughtered overseas and no one's paying attention. That's how these wars start. So I would say to both sides, to the liberal side and conservative side, stop with this political correct BS. Let's get to the root of it, because we all have our areas in life that we need to be successful. And I support women and men doing whatever they want. But at the same time, we were born biologically different. So naturally, we're going to have different strengths and different weaknesses. We can't pretend like we're exactly literally the same, because we're not. If a woman wants to do a man's job, cool, let her do that. If a man wants to do a woman's job, cool, let her do that. Everybody has different preferences. Everybody has different strengths as a human. Every individual is different. But let's not pretend like we're not biologically made different. That's a little ridiculous. That's my thought on all of this. Much love to the transgender community. Much love to the LGBT community. Much love to everybody that's conservative, progressive, liberal. I don't really care whatever label you have. I appreciate and respect you. These are my thoughts on the ban in the military. Not that big of a deal. Shouldn't be the top story. There's millions of things. There's millions of lives on the line. And this type of situation, I mean, it needs to be looked at logically with facts. it can't be an emotional outburst. We have to stop doing this and pandering and saying, oh, well, this, that. We need to get down to the truth a bit. If we really want to help the transgender community, if we really want to help the LGBT community, if we really want to help America, and if we really want to help the Middle East, who has had to suffer because of our failed policies over there that no one seems to care about. Thank you guys so much. I'm going to post my link below if you want to support the movement. I'll be back later, and scroll down. I did a good video on healthcare yesterday that I'm pretty proud of, why I don't talk about healthcare, because I think that whole debate is very skewed as well. If you don't already know, I'm Anomaly. I try to cut through with real talk. I try to cut through all of the mainstream media and news lies, because there's a lot of pandering and there's a lot of dishonesty from both sides. So I try to slice through with a real approach. Thank you so much. Have a good day.